Hi, I'm Nina Cooke, and thank you so much for joining me today for the Entrepreneur's Inner Game podcast. Today, I've got a very special guest, Tom Poland. Tom, welcome. It's such a pleasure to have you here.
Thanks, Nina. I'm ready to rock and roll. No idea what we're going to say, but it'll be, hopefully, it's more interesting to my guests than I think it might be.
Excellent. Let me just tell you a little bit about Tom before we get into the interview. Tom started his first business at the age of 24 and has gone on to start and sell 4 others, taking 2 of them international. In that time, he's managed teams of over 100 people and annual revenue of more than 20 million. He's a best-selling author of Leadsology, The Science of Being in Demand. He's also shared international speaking platforms with people like Michael Gerber of E-Myth fame, Richard Koch from the Age 20 Principle, Brian Tracy, and many others. He tells me he's voluntarily married. He lives on the Sand Castaways Beach in Queensland with his best friend, Border Collie Monty, the marketing wonder dog. Fantastic. I envy you. I bet you have some lovely sunshine there.
Yeah, I say to people, I come from New Zealand. People say, what's it like there? And I say, well, you're having a very cold winter here in Castaways Beach when you've got to wear 2 T-shirts instead of 1.
Oh, that must be terrible.
It's tough.
Tom, we're here to talk about your mindset, your inner game, and how it's helped you to have the successful business you have today. So could you just first of all tell us how you came to be doing what you're doing now?
Yeah, great question. Very much a process of evolution. I've been in sales and marketing for 37 years in one form or another. So, as you can probably figure, I started at 3 years of age. Not. So it's an evolutionary process. So back in the early days, it was if someone had a business or they were in a corporate and they wanted some sales and marketing expertise, I'd help them. But what happened over the process of some years, and it wasn't just sales and marketing either, it was management and leadership and all sorts of stuff. But what happened over a process of years is I observed my mind, since we're talking about the mind, reacting positively when I was about to have a meeting on a subject with a type of client. And the subject was lead generation. And the type of client were professionals who are marketing services, advice, or software typically. And I noticed that increase in energy and the extra enthusiasm and passion. I thought, I'm actually quite good at that thing and I'm okay at the other stuff, but I'm actually much better at this thing. And I like enjoying working with those people. So that's when I switched. That's when I flipped the switch and excluded 80% of my past market and excluded 80% of the things that I could do and just focused on the 20% that actually gave people the 80% of the results anyway, which is lead gen. And I'm passionate about lead gen primarily because it makes me a lot of money and I quite like that.
Always helpful.
but also it makes the world a better place because if you think about, people say nothing happens in a business until something is sold. Yeah, it's true. I mean, you can't pay the wages, you can't take money out for your personal lifestyle ambitions and so on, but nothing's sold until a lead is generated. So that to me is the pointiest part of every business. So that's how I got to where I am today, a process of evolution and observation. And that's why I'm doing what I'm doing.
Why do you think your mindset has been a key part of your success and where you've got to today? How come you built your business? Because a lot of entrepreneurs don't, they stop at a certain level. They plateau, right. They don't manage to get any further. What drove you on?
Oh, I think because I'm a bit thick, probably. People, some people think I'm quite good at what I do, but, I failed high school. I failed the second to last year of high school. I failed twice. I didn't even get to the last year. I failed the second to last year twice. And I didn't drop out. I wasn't like Bill Gates, where I just thought I'm just too smart for this place. I failed it. And that was just high school. I wasn't even college or university. So I think the secret of my success, if there is one, is that I discovered you don't have to be very smart at a thing. You only have to be smart enough to know how dumb you are. And I got smart enough to know how ignorant I was at lead gen. And I was fortunate that I scraped together enough money on several occasions to travel around the world and sit at the feet of the masters. Came back, implemented, devoured, and fine-tuned. And they say gardeners say the best earth is the earth that's gone through the worm. So that's what happened is I devoured all the stuff and implemented without one fresh idea in my bone or my body, and found some of it worked really well and some of it didn't. So the final result, of course, of all this experimentation and observation due to the fact that I knew I was ignorant, was a system that I could now quite proudly call my own. But it really came about because I understood that I only had to be just smart enough to know how dumb I was.
That's really interesting. So you devoured, you implemented. So you went on a learning curve to try and figure out what you didn't know.
Yes, and there was a lot to learn in the early days. There's people like Bob Stone is one of the real old, copywriting gurus. Lots of other people, the mental masters like Zig Ziglar, Brian Tracy, Dennis Waitley, going way back, Maxwell Maltz, going even further back, Napoleon Hill, and so on. So I'm old enough to have drunk at the fountain of some of those greats. And so it's been integration of this, if you like, mental mastery, if I can put it like that, plus the marketing mastery.
So tell me more about the mind mastery. What did you learn from these guys? What was it about their thinking that you wanted to find out more about and maybe take on more for yourself?
Well, I remember at age 16 making a conscious decision that I wanted to find out about success. To me, it seemed like a very woolly concept, but I knew I wanted it. And so that was the journey. I mean, we're talking over 40 years ago, that journey started to read the books, talk to the people. There was someone I knew personally, whether it was someone running a seminar, to just try and devour everything. So with the mindset, I guess my first exposure was to people like Maxwell Maltz and Napoleon Hill, who, Maxwell Maltz wrote the books Psycho-Cybernetics. And it was a massive mind shift for me to understand that I could change my mind. And I don't mean just, change my decision. I mean, actually change the way the mind saw things and change the, not just the perception, but also the response to that perception. I did a lot of work, a lot of practice in Buddhism, in particular Zen Buddhism. There's the saying in Zen that, first of all, when I saw the mountain, I saw the mountain. And then I saw there was no mountain. And now that I've done Zen for a while, I can see there is a mountain. And so it kind of messes with your brain a bit, but what it does is it gives you different perspectives, and it allows you to understand that a thing is not truly a fixed thing. It's our perception that makes it a fixed thing. So a lot of meditation, a lot of retreats, a lot of workshops, both Western and Eastern. And I think it's the integration, but most importantly, I think the observation of my own mind. And having the framework from great masters is indisputably indispensable. But what's equally indispensable, I believe, is the observation and the authority and responsibility that our ability to observe brings to our own lives.
I think that's wonderful. And you said something really important, your response to the perception, because we perceive the world only through our thinking. That's the only way it's possible to perceive it. But we do have choices, don't we, about how we react to things, how we see things.
Well, we have choices when we're aware that there are choices.
Exactly, yes.
Yeah. And as soon as we are aware, we can, if it's a difficult situation, we can, complain about it for a while until we're kind of over it, and then we get on with it. We make a choice to move on. I think one of the biggest breakthroughs for me was when my sister, she's always right, damn it, lent me a book which I absolutely disagreed with, almost, to the point of being argumentative. Yes, almost to the point of being argumentative about it. It was by Wayne Dwyer, and it was called Pulling Your Own Strings. And it's the first time I'd ever come across the concept that I, and I alone, was responsible for my emotions. How dare someone suggest that? Of course, people make me angry. They make me angry. They make me disappointed. They make me frustrated. And what I came to realize is as long as I held that point of view, it was true. But the moment I shifted my point of view and begrudgingly, and at times with great resentment, but slowly but surely accepted responsibility for my inner world, not taking responsibility for other people's outer world, what they did or might have triggered that. But then I was in a position where you quite rightly said, the moment that at that point I had choice. And another gentleman I met along the way is Colin Sisson, who did a lot of rebirthing work, and it was all about breathing through emotions. What he taught me is that I could clear my emotions in a healthy way, not by downing a bottle of red wine, which I probably tried on more than a few occasions, but by breathing through them, by accepting them. and thereby by dissipating them in a healthy way. So there's been lots of masters along the way that I've been very grateful for, but I always come back to our own responsibility to observe and act on that observation, and never to abdicate, never to finally abdicate the health of our own mind to someone else. Because ultimately, even if we agree with someone else, we still make that decision to agree. And none of us can get away from ourselves. And if people think they can, maybe it's time to see a psychiatrist, because we can't. So we kind of, I feel stuck in my body, Nina, sometimes. I really do. I feel stuck in my body. I feel like, this is weird. I'm in a body. I can't get out of the damn thing. I do escape occasionally, but that might be the subject of another
another podcast later on. It's interesting, isn't it? Because you said something really fundamental, that we are responsible for our own emotions. And for me, our emotions come from our thinking. So we're responsible for our thinking and how we perceive the world. And no one can ever make us feel anything, can they?
They can't if we choose differently.
Exactly.
But I would say it's a practice. It's not a light switch. It's more like the tide coming in or out. It's incremental and it's slow sometimes, but it does work if we practice, if we're willing to practice. And the mistake I made early on was shutting down the emotions. Saying, okay, I feel angry. I'm not going to feel that. Be positive. I'm calm and I'm clear. I'm calm and I'm clear. Damn it, I'm not calm and clear. Yes, I'm calm and I'm clear. And it's the shutdown and suppression of the emotions that then breaks out into fountains and volcanoes of frustration, and sometimes, the expression of anger and even rage. So there was a gentler way, which I was fortunate to learn, which both Colin Sisson, Wayne Dwyer, and especially Zen taught me, which is the extraordinary power of accepting a thing as it is, and the dissipation of that thing's strength and power over me as I accept it. For me, it was very much like, if you want to grow a bicep, God knows mine needs some growth. You can do resistance training. And if you put that bicep under resistance, it grows. If you try to resist a thought, it grows. If you try to resist an emotion, it grows. If you want to dissipate or change, then acceptance, the observance and then the acceptance is the key. So what I do is I go, oh, hello, my old friend, self-doubt. Nice to meet you again. And I allow myself to feel that emotion of self-doubt or of insecurity or of stress or whatever it is. I don't even have to name it or label it precisely. I can just say, oh, yeah, I'm feeling that feeling again. Welcome back again. And smile. And, we had a little joke before this started. You asked for my bio and I was trying to copy and paste it, and the file I had ready wasn't there. I don't know if you remember what I said, but it's a little practice that I might offer other people. I said, of course. Why would it be there? And that's a fantastic practice. I remember once driving around, I desperately needed to see my accountant to get a sale of a business through. And I phoned my business partner. I said, I need to get a hold of Sean. You know where he is? And Rob said, yeah, he's just gone overseas for 2 weeks. I said to Rob, of course. Why wouldn't he go overseas for 2 weeks just when I needed him? So again, it's a verbal way that you can practice acceptance. And the other practice is the practice of perfect. Now, things happen. I don't know if you've noticed this, but life doesn't seem to go according to plan. And our kids do things and our parents do things that are weird. And, our partners say things and clients do weird things sometimes. And I have a rule, by the way, I never take on a client who's more weird than I am. But that's by the by. So the perfect practice is this. I started the perfect practice one day when I was driving a car, going from one place to another on a kayaking trip. We were going from one river to another. And I had a white shirt on and I was hungry because I hadn't had breakfast, like 3:00 in the afternoon. Called into this little corner store in the middle of nowhere and got a hamburger. Now, in New Zealand, the hamburgers have beetroot in them. You know where this is going, right? White T-shirt, hamburger, driving a car. So this hamburger basically shat beetroot all over my white shirt. And I'd been practicing this perfect practice for a while. It was the first time it actually worked incredibly well. I was driving along with one hand, eating the burger. I looked down at it and I thought, perfect. Why wouldn't it do that? So by practicing the, of course, or the, perfect. At first, your unconscious goes, it's not perfect. It's a real mess. This is bad. And just go, welcome, my old friend. But by practicing that 21 times, sometimes it's 7 times, sometimes it's 37 times, but by practicing it, what happens is the circumstances that used to upset you, you now just genuinely smile at because you've deprogrammed the mind. You've taken the junk out of the mind that said this is bad, and you've just accepted it. And then you're free in that instance.
And what does that freedom in that instance allow you to be, to have, to do?
Emptiness. And when I say emptiness, perhaps it might be better phrased as clear, a clear mind. You then get to see reality as it is without the overlay of all your judgments, without the overlay of the illusions that the unconscious wants to present, which is triggering fight or flight. This is bad. Let me fix it up. Let me run away. The client didn't pay me the money. That's bad. The beach was on my t-shirt. That's bad. None of this is bad. None of it's good. It just is what it is. I know this doesn't sound cliched, but this practice is a practice of happiness, and it's a practice of clarity of mind, and it works. And it's really, really simple, but it's not a light switch. It's like the tide coming in. It's slow. It's not always linear, but it does come in.
And over time, it has a huge impact, doesn't it, on you and how you think.
And, I've heard the Dalai Lama talk about how many lifetimes we've been building these delusions and illusions about reality. And so you can't expect just a few meditations for it to disappear. Quite right. I have found, however, that if you look at things that activate what I call dysfunctional emotions, which are generally emotions that don't help us function well, it's dysfunctional, that you can deprogram a lot of the things that activate you, like someone pulling in front of you on the motorway, or, a client not turning up, or, meeting your spouse or partner for coffee and they're 15 minutes late. Those sort of garden variety emotions that get triggered by those things, you can deprogram them in a matter of weeks, if not months. So it's a relatively short space of time. So you don't work on looking at the Holocaust and saying it's not good or bad, it's just a Holocaust. That's probably not a good place to start. Let's just start on the light turning red when you want it to be green.
Yeah.
Let's start at the check not turning up on the day you thought it was going to turn up. Just the garden variety stuff. Free your mind of that, then go to the next level and start work on that.
Go on to the bigger things.
Yeah. Again, I mean, if if I went and tried to bench press 60 kg, I'd snap all my muscles, and be in hospital in pain. But I could start with 10. That's pretty easy, actually.
How do you deal with setbacks? Because they happen in life, in business. What's your process of picking yourself up and keeping going?
Right. So the first thing that normally happens is, and you're quite right, it's our thinking that triggers the emotion, doesn't it? So we get depressed, or we get discouraged, or we get disappointed, or we get frustrated, or we get envious of other people who seem to be doing better and they're not working as hard as us, and they're not as good as us, and that's not fair.
Or they're seemingly not working as hard as us, but we never really know what's going on behind the scenes.
Well, that's very true as well. Our mind would have us believe that because we've got some sort of victimhood thing going on, who knows. But first of all, as I said before, it's a simple process of observation. This thing happened, and that's a fact. And now this thing happened, which is me being upset about it. Welcome, my old friend. Perfect, of course. So that's the first step. And what I'm going to be doing then is I'm going to be breathing. I actually have a technique for this. It's in my first book, and if anyone wants a copy of it, I'm not trying to flog you, but I'm happy to give you a PDF. I can give it to you, Nina, and you can share it. But
Thank
it's in
you.
chapter
That would be fantastic. Brilliant.
Yeah, chapter 49 is what I call the 4 forces model, and it's really the encapsulation of how to clear unwanted emotions and get back to a state of calmness and neutrality and a clear mind. So the first step for me is to clear those emotions so they dissipate. Sometimes not 100%, but at least the intensity has dropped from, say, on a scale of 100 to 100 down to maybe 10, 15, 8. So it's getting really minor. Then I create an affirmation. And the affirmation is exactly what I want to feel and what my state of mind I might want to be. For example, I'm feeling clear and confident. I'm feeling clear and confident. That's the affirmation that I would have if something upset me and it really knocked me back a bit. My self-esteem was starting to suffer, and I started to self-doubt. But I don't do that until the dysfunctional emotion is dissipated. And that produces a chemical in my brain as well. But it's the chemical that helps me to think clearly and calmly. Next thing I do, once I'm feeling more positive, is the most powerful thing I've ever noticed that I can do, and that I've taught a lot of people that they also seem to find quite powerful, is make a list and take some action. And I've taught this to the CEOs of some of the world's largest corporations, and I've taught it to prisoners, and it works just the same. Clear the emotion, create an affirmation that's positive in terms of what I want to feel, and then make a list and take some action. Make a list could be call someone for help, and then you call that person. Make a list could be go back through my old prospect bank and prioritize them to approach them, and then you do it. So the overcoming of the feeling of being stuck and of inertia and of being helpless and of being powerless and of being disappointed, that is completely dissipated, and you increase motivation levels, and you increase energy, and you increase enthusiasm.
Fantastic. I love it. And that gets the outer work done as well as the inner work. Because the inner work on its own is not going to create a business, is it? We can sit there and we can think.
I'm so glad you said that.
Action, don't we?
That whole law of abundance BS where you just meditate and there's $1 million appears in your bank account. Yeah, right. So the only people that have made money out of the law of abundance are the people that are selling the books and the programs and the courses. No one else is making money out of it, because you have to do the inner work, as you've said, and the outer work. The inner work is just to prepare for the outer work. But the other mistake is thinking that I just have to rearrange the outer world and my inner world will fall into alignment with that. It doesn't work, because it's our inner patterns, it's our mental patterns that create the outer world. So it's impossible to rearrange the outer world and have our inner world at peace. It has to work the other way around. It's the only way it works. I mean, I've been doing this for 42 years. 42 years. My maths is not so good. Maybe 43 years. It doesn't work the other way. I tried it. But it does work when you rearrange your inner mind for the sake of rearranging your inner mind, clearing out the garbage, clearing out the dysfunctions, clearing out the triggers, and then focus on your outward. You still have to be smart about your business strategy, or your relationship strategy, or your health strategy. You've got to take action. But the preparation for that is getting your mind clear.
Yeah. What impact has this had on your business? Doing the inner work first.
Look, I honestly think it's done more for the enjoyment of the journey than it has for the destination. I see plenty of people out there that haven't done the inner work that have done pretty well in business. So I don't think it's a prerequisite, but those people tend to get incredibly screwed up, and they don't tend to enjoy either the journey or the destination. They also tend to become foodaholics or alcoholics, and they express their dysfunctions, which they suppress on their journey in multiple ways, dysfunction-based relationships with wife, spouses, and so on. A certain celebrity president comes to mind. But, and Trump, is probably a really good example of someone who has got to what many people believe to be the pinnacle of success in his country, but is extraordinarily screwed up and unhappy and narcissistic and egotistical and is frustrated. And what does it profit a man if he gains the whole world but loses his soul?
Exactly. Yes.
So I wouldn't be one of those who says that if you do all the inner work, then everything will just flow. You've still got to do the hard work and the smart work on the outside. But by golly, you get to enjoy the journey a whole lot more. And there's no question in my mind that I am more successful and more productive. It's just not the panacea which some people make it out to believe. Do this meditation every day, these affirmations, and all the world will be transformed. You'll get the partner you deserve. You'll have the money you deserve. Bullshit. You've got the partner you deserve. You've got the money you deserve. That's why you freaking got it. If you want to change it, then you need to change your mind. Fortunately, you can.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's making a decision at the end of the day, isn't it? About how you're going to work your business. Are you going to just slog away for the end goal? And what is the end goal? Do we ever get to the end? Do we ever?
No, there isn't an end goal.
We're always on
no.
this road, aren't we? We're on this path, and as you said, we can either enjoy it or we can
Yeah.
make it really difficult.
And
We have a choice.
Yeah, and I used to want to get off the path, and because my mindset was, I'm doing this business thing because I don't want to do this business thing. In other words, I want to make enough money so I can stop doing it. And then it was overnight. I read one thing, and that one thing talked about not the get rich quick scheme, but waking up to the realization for me that I was doing what I wanted to do. I was doing exactly the same thing every single day, but that simple flip of doing what I wanted to do as well as I could because I wanted to do what I wanted to do as well as I could, and allowing the scoreboard, which I have to say I'm still a bit emotionally attached to, the bank account, to look after itself. Nevertheless, the priorities changed. And I found that very liberating. But you're right, there's no destination, there's only a journey. The moment we stop developing, we start dying, I'm sure.
Yes, absolutely. I could talk to you for hours, but we're coming to the end of our interview. And how can our listeners find out more about you and your work? I know you very generously said you would share your book, but how else can they find out more?
Well, they can always go to my main website, which is leadsology.guru, Leadsol, Leadsol. I can't do maths and I can't spell either, but apart from that...
We will put the link down there, that's no problem.
That's a good idea, leadsology.guru. There's a bunch of free stuff there. They're not primarily, well, they're not at all, and they're on subject to lead generation. But as I said, I'm more than happy to get listeners a copy of my first book. It's a big one, it's 103,000 words.
That's very generous, thank you.
And it has sold around the world. Still on Amazon, but if you just want the PDF, happy to give it to you for free.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. And thank you for being here and sharing your wisdom. It's been absolutely fabulous. And for everyone who's been listening, thank you so much. And hopefully see you again soon. Thank you.
Thanks Nina.
Tom. Bye-bye.
Cheers, everyone.